This will be recorded if you want to get a copy of this. I definitely want to save time at the end for questions, guys. So as we go through this, if any questions pop into your mind, or if you've had any questions that you've thought since the last webinar that you'd like to ask, we've already gotten some questions, so we'll field those at the end as well. I have Dr. Eric on the line. Dr. Brad is in Australia. I don't know what the time difference is, but he's probably sleeping right now. But we want to do a little bit of a review before we jump in the material we want to cover today. And what we'd like to do is really give you guys a sequence, a real idea of how this is sequenced from the time that you get a warm lead to the time that you go in and set up a meeting. And I literally just had this happen yesterday. I've had warm leads that I've developed out with my school district that I'll talk about today and show you guys how that's happening. But, you know, the one thing, and I think Dr. Eric will validate this, guys, you've got to, what I call, get in line and stay in line. I think so many chiropractors that I've known and meet are one-hit wonders. You know, they want to go in, they want to do the lunch and learn, and they want to see massive results. You know, it's almost like doing a marketing ad or a Groupon and expecting to get new patients from that. And, you know, the best new patients that I've ever had in my practice are generally referral. They're generally based on a relationship that I've developed with another patient, and it's no different with what we're going to be teaching you. You know, the best relationships, the best way to get into corporations, to HR brokers, is through relationship, is developing a connection where people want to meet with you because, again, you're serving their needs at some level. You're not just thinking about your own. So I really want you guys to put that in the forefront of your brain, is every time you're making a connection, like I'll talk to you about a connection I made with one of our lieutenants in our fire department here in Newtown. You know, it was really based on what their needs were. And, you know, again, languaging and CSK and Brad's really helped me with this. But just being able to talk to them about being occupational athletes. I mean, I could just see as soon as I said that word, his eyes light up, you know, and also, you know, being able to talk to him and saying, listen, you guys, you know, are just incredible because you save lives. But to do that, you know, you've got to be in incredible shape. And that's, you know, what we do. We can really help you with your wellness programs. And by the way, what wellness programs do you currently have? And then that's when his face went blank because they didn't have any, and I knew they didn't have any. But that was my in, you know, to really kind of connect with them, to show them, hey, listen, you have a need that we can help you with. And then if you help them meet a need, I promise you they're going to help you meet your need, which is getting more new patients and getting more people, driving more people into your practice. All right, so let's do a little bit of a review. We went over this, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, guys, but you know, you understand hopefully at this point the back end of this. Again, I'm going to go home here for just a second. I want to touch on this for a second. One of the things I think that's really important, and I actually did this yesterday with Matt, the fireman that I was talking to. So he came in for his adjustment, and you know, we had done a lunch and learn for the fire department. Eric, were you there last year when we did this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
I thought you were. So Eric and I did a lunch and learn last year for the fire department. It was before that we had this developed out. So we had gotten to the fire department through a connection that we have. The actual fire chief and the police chief are patients of ours. And guys, it makes it a lot simpler when these people are your patients. And that's why we tell you to really, when you're doing your staff meetings or people are coming in, you really need to make mental notes and then physical notes of who are the people that you want to address for this. You know, and obviously the police department, the fire department, the school system. I mean, guys, these are great organizations to be a part of. And then also taking a look at what your warm leads in terms of your for-profit companies are, or your insurance brokers. If you have any patients that work for an insurance brokerage firm, or if you have any patients that are HR directors or high-level people in a company that you want to get into, these are the people that you want to connect with. But the best way that I found to do that is to get them information. So, for example, I emailed Matt this morning this link here. And this link here basically is the Learn More tab about the 8 Weeks to Wellness Corporate Challenge. So I didn't have a ton of time because I was adjusting yesterday, but I was having this conversation while I was adjusting him, talking to them about their wellness programs, talking to him about being an occupational athlete. He had already, because of his interaction with our office, he was a smoker, he was overweight, and I'm sure you know these policemen and these firemen who aren't necessarily, they are occupational athletes, but they're a little bit of a deconditioned athlete. So he had already, just from being in touch with our office, had lost 5 pounds, was moving in the right direction. So he was very open to this conversation. And so I sent him this link. I also registered him for the challenge, which we are converting over to a new system. So we'll kind of, Dr. Eric will talk to you how we're going to do that. But I sent him this link to this page, and this gives him all the information about the corporate challenge, what our mission is, what are some of the things that we can provide to the fire department, like the Lunch and Learn that we did last year, but also now digging in deeper to be able to actually offer this challenge. And one of the things that I mentioned to him, and again, he loved the idea, was doing a challenge between the police department and the fire department. And what we're recommending is if you have these contacts, and it's going to take time to develop this, but you can set up at no charge, we do this, a challenge for about 10 police and 10 fire. We don't really want to do more than that, guys, but it's a great way to get your foot into the door because it's absolutely no charge to them, and we can help you set this up. So this was a link that I shared with him. And anything you want to touch on with this, Dr. Eric?
No, I'm actually sending you over, so you check your email in a second, the DC to HR list, because we're really going to cover a lot of this when we go through that chart. So check your email in a second, Dane.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this, just this, what you're looking at right now, guys, just so you have an idea, it's on that main page. So Dane showed you with the corporate challenge. It's getting to know the, find out more about the program. It's in our HR packets also. So, we did this because having HR packets is nice, but a quicker way to send them to this quick link for learn more. It sends them into it. It breaks down a lot of the basic pieces of the program. It kind of talks their language, which is a big part too. Remember that, guys, because in order to really understand a person, you got to be able to talk the same language. So it really gets them more into the loop of what's going on.
So one of the things, guys, is when Matt was there, and I don't know if you have this, but I use ChiroTouch, and we have computer monitors at our adjusting station, so it's kind of cool. I have the internet right there. So a lot of times I'll pull it up as a patient that I want to connect with is being adjusted. As they get up, I'll go right to the 8WW Challenge site. So I'll go right to this site because I think it's an impressive site. I think that it shows them that this is a real tangible program. It's not just something that we're talking about. It's something that's for real. So I'll pull this up and I'll say, listen, what I'm going to do is email you some information, and what you're going to do is you're going to see this screen when I email you, and what I'd like you to do is go to the Learn More tab and just browse around here. You'll see what our mission is. You'll see some of the services. If you click here, you'll see some of the services that we can offer to your organizations, like Lunch and Learn talks, helping you set up health fairs, and more importantly, doing a wellness score for your organization just to kind of see where your company's at. We can touch on metabolic syndrome. A lot of people have heard of that, but also we can do an 8 Weeks to Wellness challenge and basically an online portal that we facilitate as doctors for your organization or for your company. Okay?
Yep. So really the first goal on that sheet, though, guys, is get that Lunch and Learn established. I'm not sure, if you're CSK doc, you guys already have this down pretty pat. If you're 8 Weeks to Wellness, you don't have that down as much. But from the CSK aspects, the big part for Dane and I was just languaging how to get into the companies. And the first thing you really want to do before you can get this program sold to somebody is sell them on you. You get your foot in the door, you start creating that connection. The challenge piece is really that next step. So the challenge is something you lead out with right away and try to shove it down their throats. The first thing you want to do, being a high-touch program, is get into the company. So a really good lead for me would be, say if you're Dave Foss. I hope Dave's on here, Dr. Dave. If you had a patient laying down on the table and he just opens up and says, hey, my company's looking for some wellness stuff, or hey Matt, I know you're in the fire department. What are you guys doing for wellness? And you guys create that relationship. Your goal really is to get scheduled for a Lunch and Learn. I mean, that's really the primary goal, is to kind of see if you can work that angle. And again, that's where CSK was so vital for us to create that language. We would hand it off to Teresa in our office and say, can you please follow up with, Matt? That's the flow and the magic of CSK. And if you're 8 Weeks to Wellness, I was on the phone this morning with a doc, 8 Weeks to Wellness, who doesn't have that back end. That's the advantage of having CSK and 8WW in this, is that we can kind of approach it. But again, that's Brad's specialty, is really unlocking that key for corporations.
And so one of the things too, guys, is that, and this is in the resources tab, and Dr. Eric is so right, because if I think of anybody right now that we're driving into the 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge program, and I had a really cool meeting with our school district that I'll cover in just a little bit. It all started with doing a Lunch and Learn talk, because what I found is that they want to know that, before that they get married to you, which, 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge is like getting married, because you're going to be in their organization, you're going to be a vital part of their wellness programming. They kind of want to date you a little bit and get to know you and make sure that you can kind of deliver on the goods and make sure that you're for real. So that's one of the reasons that Dr. Eric and I do these webinars, but it's also one of the reasons that we spend a lot of time going over the clinical information as well. All right, and one of the things that we want you guys to know is this resource tab. So the resource tab, guys, there's presentations in here. So, one of the things I think is pretty cool as part of being part of the corporate challenge in CSK, we give you a ton of talks for these lunch and learns. So, one of the things you want to do is try to establish what their obstacles are, what the obstacles are that are preventing them and their corporation from being healthy, or that's adding to their overall bottom line, what's making them sicker, what's making their health claims go up. In my meeting last time with Christine, who is the HR of our school district, she told me that they had their highest claims total in their self-insured ever. And I could just tell that she was very concerned about that. They had a couple deaths that cost them a lot of money. They had some cancers. So she was very concerned about that. And we all know on this line that, a lot of that can be resolved through lifestyle. And so, I just want to get my hands on them to be able to roll out this challenge, because I know if we can roll out the challenge effectively and help to kind of address some of these obstacles and challenges that they're having, based on eating better, moving better, and thinking better, I know that long term that we can affect that. So these are some of the, go ahead, Eric.
I would say not only that, but it's just getting you. When I was with the brokers today and discussing them, I kept coming back to the fact that we're going to get you into the, because one lady expressed interest. She goes, well, we started a program last year, and it's a telephonic coaching, and, employees were calling in, people weren't answering the phones, and, it just this whole kind of thing devolved. And I said, well, that's kind of the key difference with us is we're going to match, because that telephonic coaching is not done locally. It's done some call center somewhere. It's, by the way, they're not hiring chiropractors, just so you know. It might be a nurse. More likely, when you talk to Comcast, they actually hire who were they, Dame? It was something different.
Educators.
There was something different. It was just really not a good coach to have as far as in your corner, because they're going to tell you, go back to your med doctor, make sure you get vaccinated, some crappy information. And I let her know today, I said, listen, we're giving you the health coach. Because remember, this whole program is really built upon you guys, and you're the influence I want in that company. And, the influence is what's going to create the change. The influence is what's going to keep the change. And we all know that being, chiropractors, is that when that patient's routinely scheduled to come in to see us, they're healthier than not. If they leave our influence, they don't come back. Typically, I find, they don't come back healthier when they leave our practice and kind of do their own thing until they get back into our fold. Did you agree, Dane?
Absolutely. And it's what I call fundamental attribution error, guys. And fundamental attribution error is the error we tend to make, that we judge people based on who they are instead of the environment that they're in, right? And so you can see if somebody's successful or somebody failing. And I went out for a run today, and I have to tell you the story, Dr. Eric. I saw two women with their children, and school is ending when I finished my run in my town, and I just got sad. And the reason I got sad is they just looked so unhealthy, and they were obese, and they had small children. And I'm trying not to judge, because I'm a Christian and I try not to judge, but I'm a realist too, and I think of what are the principles that mother is teaching to those children, and and what burden is that mother going to be on their children when she gets older if she doesn't change her health and her lifestyle. So I know that woman doesn't have a wellness coach in her life, because I know if I were to ask that woman what's important, she's going to tell me those children. But at some level, she's not serving her children if she's not healthy, or if she ends up getting cancer or diabetes or something like that. So just remember, and you say this all the time, Dr. Eric, is that we're judged by the margins of our experience, right? And so if they don't have you in their life, guys, or they don't have a wellness coach, their chance of truly being healthy, right, is very slim, especially in the environment that we live in. And this challenge program, to me, and these lunch and learns in CSK and 8WW, is really about changing their experience. It's about being an influence in their life, so they see you as a leader that they want to get behind.
Yeah, and that, and then what it comes down to, I discussed today too, is trust. Trust is such a big part, and that's one of the things you're going to be able to leverage with companies is trust, because you're bringing a message which is absolutely contrarian. Every one of us knows that. We go out to a company and I do a talk. It's so contrarian to what they heard that morning on the freaking doctor show, or Good Morning America or Dr. Oz. Our message is so contrarian, even to those wellness doctors that are out there, that you got to keep supporting that message, and that's what this program does for you guys. It gives you that ability to bring a message and then support the message, and then they get to see you again, and guess what? Your message isn't changing, so then they trust you guys. And then these are patients that are coming through your practice, and we're seeing it with our Amy's and Bethany's and our JKJ guys. They're great referrals because they trust you guys.
And just to speak on that, this presentation here, guys, is gold, because I've done this the past 4 years in our school district that I live in. That I practice in, and I have another doctor who's an 8 weeks to wellness doctor that has done this in the school district that I live in, because I live about a half hour from my practice. And one of the things I wanted to show you, I brought this up, was this is the HR director that I've been working with, and she just sent me this week this email. It said good news, and basically it's the good news was and if you see here it says vaccinations, because she emailed the person that handles their vaccinations. And, again, I want to vomit when I read this, but when I connected with her and I said, listen, what wellness initiatives do you have in place already? What they had were flu shots. And we're helping to really develop a true wellness initiative. And one of the things that we're doing is we're doing a metabolic syndrome screening for all of their employees next year. It's going to be voluntary, but they're going to help promote it through emails and through posters and flyers. But we're going to do that at the beginning of the year so that we can identify the people that are at risk, or the people that want help, or the people that just want to connect with somebody that's going to help them get healthy. And then towards the beginning of the school year, beginning of the year 2014, we're launching the 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge to the whole district with every school, and we're going to game it with the schools. So the school that does the best will get some sort of a prize at the end of the 8 weeks. So I'm really excited about this. But I have to tell you, in terms of trust, there's no way I would have ever got this meeting if I hadn't been in the school district for the past 4 years. Because the curriculum development specialists, and we're going to cover this next week. I'm doing a webinar specifically on working with your schools. What they call the staff development or the curriculum development specialist was the one that put me in touch with Christine. So I am totally confident that if I would have just picked up the phone or shot this girl an email and said, hey, I want to set up a meeting, she would have never responded back to me. But because I had trust within the organization, the school district, from presenting for 4 years, they knew me, and it was very easy to get this meeting and start the conversation about the 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge. So what Dr. Eric's telling you is really right on the money. One of the things, too, guys, in your resources, so you have those talks available to you, and I really agree with Dr. Eric. The best place to start is to look at what their needs are. And one of the things that you have in this resources and training, it's actually, I believe, in the marketing. I want to show you this. In marketing, you have a really important form, and that's this one. So if you read it here, it's called the Patient Request Form for Lunch and Learn with a Workplace Survey. So one of the things that you can do, and I actually pulled this up here, so I'll show it to you, but this is a document that I would pull up, and I would have I would print them up front and back, so you'd have this front side, this back side, and I would have this at your adjusting table, so that when you have somebody, a warm lead or a patient or somebody that you can literally review this with them. And what I would do is I would kind of gift them for filling this out. And so the conversation would go something like this. And Eric, I'll just role play with you if you don't mind. I just got done Justin Eric. Eric is a somebody, he's somebody in the police department. He's a school teacher. He's someone who's an HR director, knows the HR director of their corporation. And I would just say, hey, Eric, one of the things I don't know if we do a lot of wellness education, a lot of corporate wellness. And I know you're a part of Newtown Fire Department. So one of the things I wanted to know is, do you guys have any wellness programs in place for your organization?
No, not that I currently know of, no.
Okay. Well, I'd love to be a part of helping you guys with that. And one of the things that we've noticed is that in most organizations that people aren't getting healthier, they're getting sicker. And I'm sure you've seen this in your fire department as well. And so there's a lot of challenges living in the environment that we live in terms of how we're eating, lack of exercise, tons of stress. And I'd love for you to fill out this survey for me so that we can figure out some of the challenges that you're going through in your organization. And what this does, Eric, is it really helps me out when I'm putting my presentations together to really know what I should be covering with these organizations. So if you don't mind just taking a couple minutes to fill this out for me, I'd really appreciate that. And just for doing it, Eric, I'm going to give you a 60-minute massage in our office. So do you have 5 minutes to just fill this out for me?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So guys, how long did that take? About 30 seconds? And you would get them to fill this out. And you can see just when they sit down, over 80% of our workplace has chronic illness. That's going to catch their attention. And if you can get this information here, right, the patient name, patient email, So who's the company they work for, about how many employees do they have, who's their HR director, and what's their email. Then you can utilize this to then reach out to that email and say, hey, I just had a conversation with Eric, who is one of your employees, and he was telling me that he didn't really know about any corporate wellness programs that you currently have. I'd love to sit down with you. I'd love to set up a meeting. And then this is where you would put that link into the 8WW challenge. If you check out this link, you'll see that we have a wellness program such as Lunch and Learns, such as health fairs, and even an online wellness portal that we can run for your company. So that would be the best way that I would. And then, by the way, too, I was just thinking about something. You can then say, I know that some of the challenges that you face in your organization are X, Y, Z. So based on the information that Eric filled out in this document, guys, you can see what some of their challenges are, so that when you reach out to that HR director, you can say, hey, I noticed that some of your challenges are, you have a high percentage of people that smoke, or you have vending machines in your cafeteria, that type of thing. So this is a really good document to kind of develop that warm lead in your office.
Yeah, and it's even good for re-exams too. Opening up at a re-examination and your report of findings, maybe for re-exams too. Same thing. Just languaging out that you notice that they're in HR. By the way, you guys should have that in an intake form, guys, for new patients, or even re-exam forms. Just something where it says their occupation, what they do for the company, who they work for, and it would be a really good idea to review those couple of things before walking into the re-exam, just so you can bring it up at the end, especially the re-exams when you created those massive changes. And I just know I love my re-exams when I can look up and I see 3 months later they're feeling great, they're exercising, they're eating, they're everything I say, and say, well, let's get your company involved with this now too. And it's a nice piece, and maybe it's something you can hand over at that time too.
You know what, Eric, one of the things I just thought of, and we can add this as a resource for you guys, is I will record one of those conversations that I have with a patient, either whether I role play it or if I can get it done in person. I'll role play that conversation so you guys can have that to go from.
Okay, and I just want to approach something real quick, because I know some of you on here probably are going, what the heck is this part of this program? Because remember, guys, up until this point, we haven't unlocked this part yet, where that little resource cog up there, it's not open for everybody, just so we can kind of address that. Now, you'll have access to that, and I unlocked so far Don Hanson, I'm not sure if you're on here, Dave Foss. I'm just going through my email list, because remember, we know where you're at in the program, so I want you to realize if you are indeed in week 3 or 4 currently or above, just shoot me a quick email at the end of this webinar, and I'm going to go ahead and manually change your account. So if you're Dave Foss or Don Hanson right now, I just did it before this webinar started. You'll log in today. You're going to see all 8 weeks opened, but more importantly, you're going to see that resource tab up there. But remember, guys, we want you to earn this program or learn it prior to opening up that tab. So if you're if we're talking, Chinese to you right now about it, that's where it's at. It's not there yet for you guys.
And then also, guys, recognize, and I'm not going to step through all of this, but as we do more training with you guys, recognize that a lot of the resources that we'll talk about are in this resources tab. So, for example, one of the things that we always keep saying is that we want to make sure that you guys have a doctor profile with us on record, so that if Eric or myself or Dr. Brad are speaking to any organization or HR director on your behalf, we can pull this document out and really know about you and your office, so we can speak intelligently. The one thing I know is that Dr. Eric and I know this platform because we created it. We know it backwards and forwards, and we know how to language it, but we don't necessarily know about you, and we want to make sure that we can represent you properly, especially if you're going into any company. We want to make sure that we're speaking on your behalf properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, and then the users list, guys, we didn't really cover this, but we will. One of the things I'll pull up here is, let's just pull up a company. We'll pull up Technologic. The users list, go ahead, Eric.
That's remember, we're recreating this user list, so that's why it's limited right now. Go back to that one. Just go back to the main one for a second. Just go back. What we have for the program is the ability for you guys to track where everybody's at in the program when you guys enroll a participant. So let's go to all companies for now. When we changed over our user list right now, everything got sorted back to that Cornerstone Wellness see again. Okay. So it kind of got all jumbled. So we're in the back end working that through to kind of get it straightened out. But what's going to happen is with the user list, it's going to give you the trackability and the HR person you're working with to be able to reach out to those people that are lagging behind or doing well already. But that's a piece that's still, it was working until this week. Now we got to switch it up.
Okay. So just to clarify what Dr. Eric's saying, guys, when you enroll a company, everybody in that company, when they enroll, will be funneled into that company's users list. So you'll have access to that users list. So let's say you have a company, you'll be able to go in there and see every person that's in, and so will the HR director, by the way. And then when they complete a week, because we get emails like this all the time, every time somebody completes a week, an email will be sent to you. And then also we're going to make sure, and we're building this out through Infusionsoft. That's why this is a kind of a delicate process, and it's taken a lot of time to do this. But we'll also have the ability that if they don't complete a week, an automatic email will be sent to the HR director and the doctor, and specifically to the participant to say, hey, Mary, where you been? You know, you should be in week 1, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's the accountability piece, guys, and that's the hardest part to replicate with A-Least Wellness in office versus A-Least Wellness Corporate Challenge was the accountability piece. We know the clinical, we know the philosophy side of it, we know the art of chiropractic side of it. We know that works, but it works because they show up in our office, 5 times a week to get adjustments, training. So the hardest thing was getting the accountability, and that's kind of the accountability piece for us to be able to reach out and respond back.
And then again, guys, this is the last thing in the resources is just the store that we've created for you. And this is where you would get those manuals for the program. So we call it an insurance broker package. That if you have a high-end, like Dr. Eric today went to the VIST, and he basically had a meeting. And Eric, you may want to talk about this, but this is where you're going to want to have these documents, guys. You're going to have an HR folder. You're going to want to have a manual. So again, just to show them this is a real program.
Yeah. The thing is, it's branded, guys. It actually shows you're a legitimate player. They're dealing with vendors all the time, just so you guys have an idea. There's the Scott Pashes from Global Fit. There's some big companies out there that are, throwing around a lot of numbers, a lot of pretty pieces. So when we package this together, it was done in utmost quality. Everything is full gloss. Everything is colored. There's pictures. The HR package, just in its quality based alone, this is my most requested. She actually asked for 5 more today. Guys, the reason why she asked for 5 more HR packets is because she has 5 more HR in her Rolodex that she wants to give them to. So I easily I say, here you go, take them. But if I walked in there with just me and maybe I'm not even sure what I would bring in, something I drew up on a PowerPoint piece, it wouldn't have been nearly as impactful as walking in with an HR packet and a manual. As a matter of fact, she asked for another manual too because she wanted to make sure that the new CEO that was coming on board had received that. I'm like, sure, here you go, because he's the moneymaker guy. He's the one that's going to make the decision for us.
And that's huge, guys, because what you're doing is you're helping save them time, and in terms of research, and you're providing a really valuable resource because I don't know if you know this or not, but companies are clamoring for these wellness programs. As a matter of fact, what's going on with Obamacare, it's almost going to necessitate that these companies have a wellness program because companies want to start docking people for being obese, docking people for smoking in terms of their health insurance premiums. They either want to hike up the copayment or the deductible on that person, but with Obamacare, they cannot do that unless they have a wellness and program in place to help them address the problem that they have, whether that be smoking or whether that be being obese. So these companies are actively searching out these wellness programs. And where are they doing that? They're going to their broker, their insurance broker, saying, hey, look, we need to get into the wellness program game. What do you got? And when they say that and they have that HR pack and that manual, it's just perfect for them to be able to language that out to their companies they work with. Mm-hmm. All right. So anything else? That's really got what I wanted to cover today, guys, is just making sure that you, when Dr. Eric turn on the resources here, that you know what's in there, the presentations, the marketing. Just to touch on the marketing real quick, and then I want to kind of show you guys a couple things. There's a Lunch and Learn flyer that we use in our office that we have here. We have one, a PDF, and a different one. So, guys, use that, please, for ideas. We talked about the request form for Lunch and Learns, and then this was 8 Weeks to Wellness orientation flyer that once a company comes on board, that's a flyer that you can create for the HR director to then e-blast out to all of their employees getting into the challenge itself.
Cool. Do you want to open up that DC to HR real quick and we'll just cover through? And then some questions.
Is this it here? Or?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, getting started. Yep, there you go. Now this is a just a kind of walkthrough sheet that I'm going to send out to you guys today. Actually, it's going to be part of an email. I'm actually going to send anyone that attended today. There's 24 people listed so far. I think even more than that. I'm going to send you a follow-up email immediately after this. It's going to have this form, DC to HR. It's going to have a practice profile sheet, and it's going to have a sample proposal in there with some understanding about it, so you guys have all the resources. But the DC to HR sheet was basically for you guys to be able to understand, the who, the how, and more importantly, the how much this actual program costs, because there's some of the questions that are going to be raised.
There we go.
As soon as the PDF pops open here.
There you go.
All right, just scroll that back a little. So we kind of covered already the identifying your Maven patients, and again, that's pulling from Brad's piece. I talked about having an intake form, so add a section in a new patient intake form that gives an area for the person to identify where they work and their position. The table talk, Dane went through it today. Keep it simple. Do you have a wellness program at work? Creating a Dutch uncle, that's what Dane basically did today with Matt from the fire department. Get in to do a talk. So step 2, have 3 options for doing talks. With CSK, do a talk to get in to get new patients. And I would include slides for the HWW Corporate Challenge and close for new patients. So this, in other words, remember the whole deal for this program is to get you more patients. But you were the cognitus. We're not getting you new patients. You're getting yourself new patients. So when you go in there, you're going to go in there going, okay, well, what is my goal in this one? And if it's in there to say, hey, you know what, I want to close on some patients, well, get your close down. We're not going to give that to you. That's what Brad gives you, from CSK. But get your close down and maybe include a slide for the HWW Corporate Challenge. And maybe that's the ending part is you say, well, we also have an in-office and an online portion. And that's really the closest for the HR person because the HR person goes, hey, wait, I can actually do some online stuff. That's pretty cool. But then close for new patients. Or number 2, go direct to sales. So, go in there and, go straight for the, just for closing on this program. Just because in there going in, you just want to basically get, maybe it's a company that's a little bit further from your office. You're not quite sure how it's, you're going to work out, help a friend out, but they're not quite in your area. You can go for that. And then leave behind HR packet. So for any case, whenever you do a lunch and learn, always leave back an HR packet. Now, the key is when you leave that HR packet back, that's going to automatically generate, an email to me. And you're going to email me and say, hey, Dr. Eric, I just dropped off an HR packet after one of my talks at XYZ company. Mary Beth was my contact. Would you mind giving her a call? When I get that kind of email, it's perfect because all I'm going to do now is I'm going to reach out to Mary Beth and say, or I might even email her or CC you in an email and say, hey, what's a good time for us to sit down and talk about this program? Because I know you have the HR packet. I'll explain to you how it works. That's you and me basically on a phone call with her. I'll explain to her the program. The goal for us is to get you back into that company as soon as possible and for her to understand, hey, you are the resource that they're going to need to tap into. So maybe it's not that phone call, but maybe it's the phone call after where she'll come back and say, hey, I would love to kind of set up something to run it through. But in order to do that, we have to have that HR packet in somebody's hand. And the other thing is you have to have that practice profile sheet back on my computer. So email it to me. Again, I'm going to send it to you today at the end of this talk. Here it is. Let us know how you did, obviously, after your talk. We know you're going to rock it, so email us the company information and the registration forms. If you did registration forms, which is for a different talk, and we'll talk about that today, we'll follow up. A goal for us is always to get the moneymaker, the CFO, the HR, the insurance broker, somebody on some sort of webinar or face-to-face contact where I can help explain exactly what they're hurting from. Now, your patients you're talking to in your lunch and learns, you're talking to them about where they're hurting. What I'm talking to them about at the CFO and the CEO and HR is I'm talking about where they're hurting. And it's not about back pain with them. Unfortunately, it's about driving down their costs. It's about how they're going to get an ROI, a return on investment, on these programs. And here's a dirty secret, guys. It's 3 to 5 years to see a financial ROI on wellness. And when you tell that to a CEO or CFO, they basically roll their eyes and they want to walk out of the room right then because 3 to 5 years, they're not even sure they're going to have a job there yet. So they're really, they're in that point where I switch to languaging. I say it's not so much about your dollar savings, it's how much energy can you get back from your employee. And that's something tangible with this program is they will see a valid shift in 8 weeks. And that's all the investment's going to be for them is 8 weeks if that's all they want. But I wanted to show them that the ROI for companies is on energy. Right, Dane?
No doubt. And it makes me think about the testimonial that we got from the one guy, Dr. Eric, who had AS. And that's in your resources, by the way, just to kind of open. Guys, you really should go read this if you really want to know what the ROI on this program is. But if you go to resources and training and you go to this 8WW Challenge testimonial, please open that up and read that because if you truly want to know what the ROI is, and you can use this, and we use this, by the way, when we email to HR directors or to brokers, because I'm telling you, when they read that, it gets their attention. This is tangible.
Yeah, and remember, guys, every time a person completes a week, that's their employee completes the week, an email is generated back to me, back to the doctor, back to HR. My job is to fire off a quick little follow-up. Hey, Mary, how did week 1 go? Hey, Mary, how are you doing with the exercise? Hey, Mary, did you know we have a support talk inside of our office on Thursday night for you to come in and help you get through the program? Well, the cool thing is the participants will fire back. Dr. Eric, I can't believe how much my life has changed. And that's what Dan was saying with the testimonials. They're giving, I literally have right now a book of testimonials that I'm going to drop off to the CEO and the HR person from the one company that we're doing now called Jade. I have a book right now that I can drop off that's their testimonials. One guy got antacids. The other guy bought a brand new belt. That's all he emailed me. He goes, hey, listen, I just went out and bought a brand new belt. I mean, just really basic ones, but
not a bigger one.
Yeah, not a bigger one. Yeah, he bought a smaller one. So that's the amazing part, is that you'll be able to drop off literally a notebook of testimonials that you've received over the weeks, literally hand it to the CFO and say, this is what's happened over the past 8 weeks. And then you're going to have, obviously, I had, so far with my week 4, my week 8s, testimonials. They would stand up right there in front of a room of 20 people and just say, I can't believe how much this program changed my life. And that's what's going to keep you in that company.
No doubt.
That's ROI. And then closing the deal and getting paid. This has always been the question of, where's the money at? Where's it come from? I'll be honest with you guys. Companies have the money for wellness. They don't have the manpower. So what we're doing on our end, as much as we possibly can, is we're working on how to implement this easy for the company, how to get people enrolled, how to keep them energized. All that stuff's getting worked on our back end. But the money's come down to basically the pricing structure is going to be emailed to each one of you in my next follow-up email. But it's $249 for a participant. So if one person wanted to pay out of pocket, it's $249. We've never had anybody pay that yet because it's always more than one person enrolling. When it goes up in number, it comes down in price. So from 2 to 49, it goes down to 199. From above 50 to 99, it goes down to 149. And then as soon as you go over 100 participants going through the program, it goes down to 99. These prices will be included with your email coming forward, so don't get all nervous about that. We give the company options. When I talk to them, I say, listen, I like when the company pays for it in some cases, but I also like it when the company doesn't pay for it because the employee now has skin in the game. So an important part is that they're putting financial money out of pocket. The cool part is you can have it so the company pays back the participant if they complete it, because remember, we're tracking this, so we can issue a certificate of completion in 8 weeks, and then the company actually pays the person back. So this way the company knows, one, did they use it? Well, they did because they gave you a certificate saying they used it, so they're willing to give money back to the employee. In some cases, there's HSAs and FSAs that are already set up for these types of programs. We can utilize those. You can utilize this by saying, well, the program is going to cost $99 per person, but in order to incentivize them coming to my practice, I'm going to do a half-hour massage, or I'm going to do we do a lunch hour workout in our facility, so we have them come over for a lunch hour workout. Or, again, flat out the employee pays for the program. There's no incentives based back. We really haven't had that yet. The companies are willing to give something as long as you're there with the right purpose. And I can tell you right now, guys, when they hear our message of wellness, and if you don't know what our message of wellness is, it's eat well, think well, move well, be proactive. It's, wrap it around chiropractic. That's our message of wellness. And they're going to jive with that. And when they do, they're going to put some money out of pocket.
And I love that. I love that, Eric, just not to skip over that, but that's kind of, guys, really the financial model we love the best is that the employee will reimburse, or the employer will reimburse the employee once they complete the program. So what, in a sense, what they're saying is, listen, we want to invest in you, but we want to make sure that you follow through and do what we're paying for. So we're going to have you put the money out, and once you complete the program, we're going to reimburse you for that. Yeah,
and the reimbursement on your end, guys, because that's always the question too. What's in it for me? From a perspective, and unfortunately, that sometimes in the chiropractic part, the payback for you guys is in patience. And I know that's probably like, well, that's really the key to this whole program is to get you guys back patients. The other goal is that you will make a percentage based upon how much work's been done on your side. So in other words, if this is like your brother and he's like the CFO of AIG or some huge company, and we literally walk in there and start a wellness program, we're going to incentivize you accordingly. So, because again, we didn't really do any work on that part. Right now, we have a stipend up anywhere between 10, 15 to 20%. It really varies, again, on what you guys are doing on that part. If you guys are doing a lot of the coaching, if you guys are doing the sell part of it, we'll take care of the proposals. And I'm going to send out each one of you a sample proposal of what it looks like with a price sheet. So when I'm on the phone with them, my goal is, because I don't want you guys to have to language this to them, I want to do it for you guys. How many employees are going to participate? And they're going to usually say, I have no idea. We've got to figure that out. And we'll figure that out through a couple of basic questions. I'll put together a proposal for 50, 100, 10 people. I don't really care what it is. I'll email you and the HR person that proposal, so you guys both are talking apples and apples. And then they're going to get back to me and say, I want to go forward with it, or I don't. And if they say I don't, I'm going to say, well, make sure you reach out to Dr. Jeff, and he's going to get you scheduled in for another lunch and learn, because we want to make sure that, just because we're not going forward with the challenge, we're still creating our relationship, and maybe next year is a better time for you for this. And they say, yeah, that'd be great. And then at least you guys are getting your foot in the door still for that. Or they say, we love it, we want to do it, and let's set a date. And that's what I did today with my insurance broker. My whole goal of my talk today was that we're going to run, they have 70 people at one location and 40 at another. We're going to run a challenge through their company, and our whole goal today was just to set 2 dates. One was for a coming out party to announce the program, which is going to happen in July, and the other one is actually a kickoff, which is going to be September 9th, which is the Monday after Labor Day. We're actually going to run the program. So I'm actually putting together all the marketing materials, which I'm going to do for you. We'll help brand it into we have movie-sized posters and trifolds. We'll put those together for you guys. And, so we're really making this, guys. We're doing all the back-end work, and all you guys are going to have to do is just get emails from us saying, hey, here's the date, show up, do your presentation. We enroll them. I get the email list from the HR person. You guys don't have to touch that. I enroll them into the program. You get the actual users list. So when I launch the program, I'll say, hey, Dr. Bob, check out the users list and see all the people inside your program. And it's like, oh, it's jackpot city, because now you have every email from that person in the company, and now you have ability to start creating relationships. So again, the money is really in the patience for you guys. The relationship building with the company. The money's in every time they get a new hire. They're going to go back to you as the wellness doctor versus, again, I think one of the questions came up a little while ago. I'm just going to bring it up real quick, Dane. Someone mentioned, I'm hearing other companies are doing something similar. This is a question today from one of the you guys, with an online forming gaming. How do we show how it's different? Guys, that last part right there is key. How do we show it's different? It's different because it's you. Because honestly, guys, high tech is always going to be something new. Every new widget, like I do a Fitbit piece. Now I'm going to buy the Fitbit band that goes on my wrist. But the thing is, technology is going to change. Products are going to come around. But you are the key figure in this whole piece. The reason why they're going to buy it is not because Dane and I put together a pretty online platform, which I think it's okay. I think we could do better. I think it could be prettier. But I think it's going to be because of what they understand about you and how the results you created. They're not buying the program. They're going to buy you guys. So that's how we separate it: high tech, high touch. And again, that's where we're going to plant our flag, is with you guys.
Cool. So one of the things, Dr. R, did you send me the getting started email? Because I did want to show them that too, just so they know that when the participants get started, or if you haven't, if you could pull that up and fire that to me.
You know what? How about if I just send it to them, or do you mean pull it up real quick? You want to do some question answering? I can just email that to them and kind of walk them through it, or
yeah, that's fine. Basically, guys, what I'm talking about is there's a getting started email. So if I go back to the warm lead that I developed yesterday with Matt, the firefighter, I'm gonna register him for the challenge as a single participant and get him a getting started email. It's very professional looking. So again, it's gonna take our discussion and make it come alive for him. It's like, this is for real. This is what we do. We want you to get registered. Next time he comes back in for his adjustment, I'll be able to say, hey, Matt, did you get that getting started email? So, because I enrolled you in the program, and I really want you to kind of take a look at some of the videos and go through the orientation, so that when we get this going in your company, or in this case in the fire department, everybody understands. And so that would be my first lead to get into the next Lunch and Learn, which what I would want to do in that Lunch and Learn is present the 8 Weeks to Wellness Challenge to all the firefighters. Okay? So Dr. Eric will send that off to you. Many of you guys already got that getting started email because Dr. Eric enrolled you in the program, so you should know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I appreciate everybody's patience on here this week, and just how it just happened. We've been working with our designers to switch over to a new content registration in Infusionsoft backend. So I really appreciate all your patience on any login issues. I know I had a few participants trying to get some staff enrolled. We're working through all those bugs. Just happened to be this the time we had to do it, and it worked out well actually, because we're getting ready to fire up a couple of extra companies with 100+ people. So we just had to get it done, and it happened to be this start. So I apologize, and please be patient with us.
Cool. And guys, I'm looking now at questions. Let me just pull this up. Question. If you have questions, guys, now's the time. Somebody said, "Can you?" Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, I'll just follow through the last two questions. One was undertaking the massive influx of participants. That was one of the questions. We take care of that massive influx by creating email lists. So when I coordinate with the HR person, we actually have the ability to push them to a page to register themselves. So we actually will register them. Your biggest thing is going to be how to incentivize getting them into your practice. And what we do sometimes is we take a day out where we're schedule like for some of our bigger talks. We'll try to schedule out just like 30-minute blocks just to kind of get people in, and that's part of the CSK portion of how to get them scheduled through. But I would recommend scheduling maybe right around the time you're going to launch, like we're going to launch September 9th. So maybe that week we're going to probably offer up an extended wellness score, a free one, to get them to come through our office. So I'm going to block that week and say, well, I have Thursday nights are open and Wednesday nights are open, whereas no new patients. It's just going to be the orientation support or the extended wellness scores for the challenge, which is a good problem to have.
Yeah, and just so you guys know what Dr. Eric's talking about, I'm pulling this up, but if you haven't seen this, I mean, the wellness score is just really, really cool. It's what we use with all of our initial consults, and it kicked me out, but it's just an awesome platform to kind of show people their own physiology. As I like to tell them, physiology doesn't lie. So if you truly want to find out if you're healthy or not, you want to have a wellness score done, because we're going to take a look at your BMI. We're going to take a look at your body fat percentage. We're going to look at digital postural pictures of it. We're going to do palpation and x-rays. And by the time I'm done this evaluation, we're going to know exactly where you are as far as your health and wellness. Matter of fact, we're going to give you a grade, an A, B, C, D, and people understand that. And then from there, we can then look at what your challenges are and help you with those. So that's what Dr. Eric is talking about. What was the second question, Dr. Eric?
And sequencing, and again, we went through that today. The sequencing, you're going to find out with the, I'm going to attach the DC to HR. The sequencing is just, create the relationship for us. We're not going to create the relationships. We're not here to drive, cold leads into your practice. We're here to get warm leads warmed up even hotter. That's kind of our goal. So make sure, sequencing-wise, just get back the information. The only exception I would make to that whole rule is if just out of the blue, I think it was Justin Steinhauser, who happened to be hanging out at this pool, and it started a conversation with a guy next to him, and it was a broker. I don't mind that cold lead. I like broker cold leads because we already have the service we can offer to them, and I just recommend getting an HR packet into their hands, and that's the one cold lead I will work with if they're an insurance broker. And if you don't know what an insurance broker is, then just give me a phone call, and I'm going to explain to you exactly what an insurance broker does, because it's very important for this program and for you guys to drive in new patients.
Somebody asked that they were unable to do the first recording for Group D. And Dr. Eric, I think I sent that to you. If you don't have it, let me know. And you could just forward that along with what you're going to send them. So, guys, we'll send you a link so that you can get that first recording so that you kind of understand this platform here, which is exactly how clinically the program runs when you run the corporate challenge.
Yep.
All right. And that's all I have so far, guys. So speak now, ask now, or forever hold your peace. I just got 2 questions. Let me just take a look at the attendee list. There's 25 people on here. Make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay. You just talked about physiological markers you're measuring. Is there a worksheet that lists the markers? Does the blood work have to be done? That's a great question. And yes, Dave, we do have a one. It's in the resources and training. So these are the ones that we recommend. And where is it? It's in here somewhere, I know. Sorry, guys. Give me 2 seconds. I know it's in here somewhere. You see it, Eric? Here it is.
Yeah, just for an example, for Technologic, we just launched with a wellness tech company, and when we did that, we basically kept the parameters very simple. They were going to be, it was BMI, waist, and waist to hip. So there's 3 biometrics that we captured. Currently working with the broker, that was also part of the discussion today, is what biometrics they want, and they're very staunch on blood work. They want blood work. They want us to do the blood work for them, so we actually have a LabCorp corporate contact. So what I'm currently going to do today is I'm emailing my LabCorp lead, and she's going to get them to come in right before the challenge starts and do a on-site blood pool just for 3 basic stuff: glucose, triglycerides, and cholesterol. And I'm basically going to pull from that HDLs, triglycerides, and glucose. So I'm going to pull those 3, and that's going to be part of the workup for them, because we're getting a metabolic syndrome panel done That's what they requested. So we'll help. We'll language that instead of having you guys have to do that. We'll let you know what got pulled.
But it is there, guys, so just so you know, these are just some basic recommendations. The one we like the best is the one Dr. Eric just said. This is the one that I'm doing in the school district, by the way, next year. It's 5 parameters. It's waist circumference, triglycerides, HDL, cholesterol, blood pressure, and glucose. Very easy to track. There's a ton of research on metabolic syndrome, so you can actually coordinate that with the research that's out there as you're talking to people, and you say, listen, if you have 3 of the 5 parameters, you have metabolic syndrome, but for each parameter that you have a check against you, your health, your risk of chronic disease goes up. So site-specific cancer, diabetes, heart disease go up. So it's a very relevant conversation. So we love the metabolic syndrome screening, but these are some other examples, and there's some without labs, Dave, and there's some here with labs. So just take a look at that. That's in your resources, and it's right here, corporate recommended biometric screening panels.
Yeah, and again, that's a learning piece for us guys. We'll start learning more. We did actually have LabCorp go ahead, and they're actually going to do some biometric screening at physical locations, but they really only have about 500 locations. Basically, what I mean is that say the company wants to do blood work, we can give them a requisite form to go get the blood work done, plus have the waist to hip, blood pressure, and BMI taken at LabCorp, which was kind of cool. That was kind of an initiative we've been working with LabCorp to get launched. The only problem is they only have 500 offices of their 5,000 that currently do it, so it's very site-specific, but we crunch those numbers for you guys.
Cool. A couple more questions, guys, and I got to jump in with patience. But somebody said, please define fundamental attribution error again. No problem. It's one of my favorite concepts. Fundamental attribution error is the error that we tend to make with people where we judge them based on who they are as a person instead of the environment that they've been in, right? So that's the error. We look at a person and say, oh, we do it all the time, guys, with chiropractic patients. It's that person, oh, they just don't get it. Well, guys, they don't get it because they've never been dipped. They've never been in a chiropractic environment where they've had an opportunity to get it. So don't judge people based on they get it, they don't get it. Put them in an environment to get it. If it's an unhealthy person, that person needs a lot of love. They need an environment that's going to support them. Last one, my dear friend Arminta asked, my staff has not yet received logins. Is that something that they need?
Yes, and that's because with the switch over to our new CRM, our back end, we're having a hard time getting people registered today. It should change by this afternoon. That's what my designer told us. He's based out of Phoenix, Arizona, so hopefully he's working on that right now. As soon as we do, we'll go ahead and try and get everybody enrolled. If you currently have someone that you sent over to me, if you could do me a big favor, just resend them over to me fresh, just so I can have them fresh in my email account, and I'll make sure they get enrolled. And try to only limit it to people that are going to be involved with the program, because I did get an email back about starting about 10 or 15 people from my staff, which I don't mind. It's just on our end, as far as inputting those kind of pieces, sometimes is rough. So try to keep it to people that are going to be having touch points so they can understand the program. If you're an AVs to Wellness office and you want to get more training up on the other back end, you can email Dane about that. But if you're a CSK doc and just going through a challenge, try to only get me maybe a marketing person, the head docs, the associate doc, and maybe a trainer that's going to have touch points, so we can keep everybody on the same page, especially if they're participating in these webinars.
And last thing, guys, we are doing, and you should have received, and I'll post this on the CSK, and I will also email it out, and you should get my emails. But if not, you can email me directly. But we are doing, Brad and I don't know if Dr. Eric's going to be on, but we are doing one specifically, a webinar next Thursday for teachers. So I'm going to go over really how to connect with school districts, what's important, who's the people that you need to speak to, what presentation we've done. But this has been huge. We've been developing this for a while, and like I said, this will be the first year in this next school year that we'll actually be doing wellness screenings, which I'm really excited about, and have an opportunity to connect, because I think our school districts need help. I mean, they really need help, and the perfect place to start is with the staff, because once you get the staff on board, motivated, get them healthy, that's going to trickle down to the students, it's going to trickle up to the parents, it's going to trickle through to the administration, and again, who's going to look like the hero? You are, because you're going to be the one who led this movement in your school district. So look for that. We're going to be doing that next Thursday. It was awesome having you guys on. We had really good participation today. I appreciate that. And then we'll be doing our next, the third webinar in this 4-part series in 2 weeks. All right? So awesome. Have a great one. See you guys.